Vic Miller covered a lot of big stories in his more than half-century in broadcasting as a reporter, anchor, and eventually the general manager of KTVQ, but none bigger than back in 1959 when KTVQ was known as Cook TV and Radio.
And I had my chair backed up against the wall and it started to rattle. And he said, "My God, what's that?" And I said, "It's an earthquake," because I had him before. So then we go down to the wire machine and try to find out where it was, or where the epicenter was, and they finally discovered it was by Hebgen Lake.
The next day, Miller was on a chartered plane to the airport in West Yellowstone to cover the earthquake.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And we flew over areas where the highway had dropped 10 feet. It was crazy.
He would get some of the very first interviews with survivors.
And boy, some of the stories they had. One couple we talked to were in a tent, and he had a flashlight, and he showed it outside. He said a boulder the size of a Volkswagen rolled past, but it missed our tent. Another couple, the water kept rising. They kept crawling up a tree further and further, and there were a couple of them probably in their 60s. But they survived.
Those were the lucky ones. At the time, Miller didn't know how many had perished.
It ended up with 28, and of course 19 are still up there, and will be forever.
And 62 years later, it's a story that he's never forgotten.
And you'd wake up at night thinking about it for a while, because it was such an awesome thing, and just talking to survivors, and they were terrified even the day after. And the quake was over, and they were still terrified. And you even had college kids from the park who happened to be up there camping. And when you're a college kid, you're not afraid of anything. And they were terrified. They could not wait to get out of there. It was, of course, the biggest story I ever covered on radio.
In Billings, I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.